Hello, everyone, and welcome to the continuation of College of Business Week. Our next program is Business Administration, and so we are pleased to be joined today by Dr. David Cavazos, who's a faculty member from the program. As he is going through his presentation, if you do have questions, we ask that you submit those using the Q&A box or the chat box, and we will handle those at the end. But for now, I just will turn things over to him.
Right. Hello, everyone. As Moini said, my name is David Cavazos. I'm a professor of management at Tarleton. I'm also the coordinator of our MBA program. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what makes our MBA program special and what sets it apart from competing programs to help you make the best decision for you. So in general, our MBA program is geared towards a broad base of business knowledge. So you'll gain expertise across areas such as marketing, accounting, finance, management, information systems, essentially everything you need to manage the key resources that any organization, whether it's a private sector organization or a nonprofit organization or a government organization, to basically manage people, resources, and projects, right? Those are the big three for really any organization, right? If you're going to manage human beings, right? To help people get the most out of their capabilities. You're going to manage resources, whether it's financial resources, intangible resources, tangible resources such as production facilities. And then, of course, there's projects, right? Most organizations require project management and the ability to manage and oversee projects. You'll learn those skills as well. So one of the things that sets us apart is this broad-based education. Along those lines, however, you can specialize to an extent. We essentially require 8 classes, but then we offer 2 electives, which could be any business course. So say you take the business core and you find that you're particularly interested in finance, you could take 2 additional graduate finance classes. Say you're particularly interested in marketing or communications or any other business field, you could take 2 additional courses in those fields. So that gives you that ability to specialize. Or you could broaden your horizons more and take 2 completely different business courses, right? Such as analytics or a statistics class, just to give you an even broader base. So that's a really great option of our program. As far as getting into the program, we've tried to reduce the barriers to entry for most of our qualified students. So for instance, we do not require the GMAT, we do not require the GRE. We do have leveling requirements, but most of those leveling requirements could be satisfied either through work experience or through these short online modules we have. So I know one of the things that cause trepidation among potential MBA students, especially those of us who are more experienced, have been out of school for a while, is the idea of having to sit in an undergraduate classroom with 20-year-olds and have to take like a intro to marketing class. But we've eliminated that to the best of our ability by offering these online modules where, say, for instance, you come from, say, a music program. Say you have a BBA in music or a BBA in art or philosophy. You can apply to our MBA program, and if you have some work experience, that would hopefully account for the management-oriented leveling. And you could take some online modules before you start the program to satisfy things such as statistics, accounting, finance. And this gives you kind of that foundational information you need to start your program. So that helps kind of that barrier to entry, and it's cheaper than having to enroll in an additional undergraduate class. So that flexibility and that accessibility are some of the things that set us apart. Another thing that sets us apart is cost. So as this handout shows, our MBA program costs, just for everything, all inclusive, is $13,300. That's less than what the UNT MBA costs per year. The UNT MBA program costs $16,000 per year, so you're looking at $32,000. The UT Arlington MBA program, another competing program, costs $22,000, so $11,000 per year. So that puts us considerably lower. Does that result in compromising quality, you might ask? No. Like UNT And like UT Arlington, which are both great programs too, know a lot of people there and a lot of graduates from there, so they're great programs. But we have the same level of accreditation that they do. We're AACSB accredited. What that means is our faculty is at the cutting edge of research. They come from accredited institutions, so we know that their training is cutting edge and reliable. And we are active in constantly improving the way we teach, the way our courses are delivered. The content of our courses is constantly updated to reflect current industry trends. So courses are adapted as we go. For instance, our capstone course now has a module on artificial intelligence because, of course, that's important. So you get the same level of quality you would at other more expensive programs because we have the same accreditation level as they do. So that is key. So you get this accessibility and this relative affordability at a lower cost than similar programs. So that is definitely a great thing. So you might ask yourself, well, what does an MBA program get me? So one of the benefits of an MBA, and there are a lot of great business programs, and we have some at Tarleton, as you see at the bottom of this document here. We have masters in science and management, master of science in accounting, Master of Science in Information Systems, very specific courses. The MBA gives you increased job opportunities and job potential because of its broad base. You could work in city government and state government, in the private sector. You can manage a nonprofit. Everything you take in business with our coursework. So if you notice here in the center, our coursework includes all the areas of business. So accounting, managerial economics, which was one of my favorite classes, financial management, information systems. So, and as you can see, you get a broad brush approach. So you're prepared to manage in any business context. One of the highlights of the program are these two courses here: our business strategy program, our business strategy course, and our evidence-based decision-making course. The evidence-based course in particular is not something that's offered in many other MBA programs. What that course equips you with is the ability to discern what is reliable information and what isn't, something that's extremely important now. So that course actually gives you the tools to do thorough, reliable, and effective research, which is really important for any business function, right? If you have to present something about market conditions, for instance, something that you would typically do with an MBA, you have to be able to tell the difference between a reliable source and an unreliable source, right? Especially now with artificial intelligence and, of course, just the bulk of information we have at our fingertips. Most information is not reliable, right? So that course equips you to discern that, and that's extremely important, and that could make or break an organization. So those really great courses. And as I mentioned, you also get 2 elective classes. So it's essentially 10 classes. And one of the cool things about our program is not only do you have the flexibility as far as deciding your elective, so deciding your specific expertise, or if you want to go broader in scope, you also have flexibility in terms of the time it takes to complete our program. So for instance, say you're extremely busy, you have a family like most of us, you work full time, you have hobbies, you like to travel, you like to have a work-life balance. Well, you can go part-time and take up to 6 years to finish our program. So you could literally take a class per semester if you'd like. Say you're on a tighter time frame, you could complete our program in a year by taking different modalities. So for instance, we have the typical 16-week format for all of our courses. You could also take our courses in 8 weeks, and you could take them in 5 weeks. Regardless of the time frame of the courses you take, it's the same content. We have a few courses that are 5 weeks even, and those are really intense. So essentially you have the option of 5-week, 8-week, 10-week, and 6-week, 16-week courses, and you could mix them up. And that's the beauty of this. You could take, for instance, say you don't like finance and you think you anticipate struggling, or you would like to spread out the content a little bit because you're concerned about the quantitative nature of finance. You could do that one in 16 weeks. Say you're an experienced manager or an HR person and you feel like the organizational behavior class might be kind of right up your alley and you really don't need that. You could knock that one out, right? You could say, okay, I'll do that one in 8 weeks. So you could take simultaneously a 16-week course and an 8-week course. So that helps you really tailor and plan your semesters your according to your preferences, essentially. So that's another thing that differentiates our program. You could take it according to your best time frame. Other things, our program can be taken 100% online. Now, I know for many of us, especially those of us who were born in the 70s and 80s, an online course, we envision that it's just you do one thing and then you check out for the rest of the week. Then you come back the next week and you do something else and then you check out. Our online courses aren't like that. They are engaging. They have a lot of lively content. There's a lot of collaboration with your classmates. In fact, I teach a class where you have two projects with your classmates with one team that lasts the whole semester. So you really get that networking and that collaborative experience that you would get with a face-to-face program. So as much as possible, our online courses are extremely engaging. But you could also attend some of our face-to-face classes. We are offering more face-to-face classes as time goes by. We even offer a couple of hybrid classes. And we offer courses in our Fort Worth campus as well. So if you live in the Metroplex or in Fort Worth and you want at least some face-to-face experiences in your graduate coursework, you have that option of taking a couple of classes online or a couple of hybrid classes to complement the completely online courses. But that is not required. You can get through the whole program exclusively online. But do note, because it's online, it doesn't mean there are any compromises in the quality of the delivery of the materials. We strive for providing the best experience possible. Our faculty are all trained in the most cutting edge delivery modalities in the online context. So you could rest assured that just because this is online, this isn't going to be the online class that you might envision. Our classes are extremely engaging. Um, so with that, that covers our program. Now let me talk about applying. So the application fee is $50 and there is an essay. Now, are we waiving that application fee? Um,
Not for this particular
okay.
event.
Yeah, but $50 is more than fair. Most schools have a $200 application fee. So even that is pretty solid. Um, the application process is as streamlined as possible. So there it is. Yeah, that apply now link. You could apply right there to our program. As I mentioned, the GRE, GMAT are not required, but we do require a 3.0 GPA. We could look at your overall undergraduate grades, or we could look at the last 60 hours. If you have work experience, that could offset some of our requirements. So again, we strive in reducing barriers to entry because we want to educate as many people as possible. And again, providing a quality educational experience. So our webpage is here and it provides just an overview of kind of what our classes are and what our learning outcomes are. But the sky's the limit as far as what kinds of work you can get with our program. So with that, we could have questions posted if we have attendees, but hopefully that will give you all the information you all need. If you have any additional questions, please, my name is David Cavazos. I welcome your questions. Here's my email. Please email me. I respond usually within 12 hours, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Say you took a little bit of graduate business courses at another institution, and you're interested in taking our MBA. We do accept transfer credits for most programs. So if you happen to have some coursework, let me know and we could actually give you the most streamlined experience possible. Because again, we are here to accommodate you as much as possible. So please let me know if you have any questions and I'm happy to answer them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Cavazos. For our live audience members, if you do have questions, now is the time to submit those. You can use the Q&A box or the chat box to submit them, and we will handle them shortly. In the meantime, I did have some questions for you. myself, Dr. Cavasso. So let's start with accreditation. You mentioned that the Tarleton business programs are accredited through AACSB, which is an elite level of accreditation for business schools and business programs. Only 5 or 6% of business schools worldwide have it. So, what are the benefits of having attended a business school with this accreditation? And do employers out in the workforce recognize the significance of coming from a school that's got this accreditation?
Yeah, and I'll start with the second half of the question first. So, in terms of employers, uh, as many of you know, some employers will actually pay for all or part of your graduate education. Many, including as I know here, Lockheed Martin and Fort Worth, they will not pay for an MBA unless it is AACSB accredited. Many programs won't hire graduates from non-AACSB accredited institutions. So, those are kind of the more practical kind of elements of it. But as far as really what that accreditation means, it really means that we're constantly improving and that we hire faculty that have that same ethos and that come from other AACSB accredited institutions. For instance, at Tarleton, we won't hire faculty in our business school now that don't come from AACSB institutions. So it kind of further builds that intellectual capital. What that means for faculty is we are constantly looking at our programs, constantly looking at our coursework to determine whether it best meets the needs of the business world. So we are constantly changing our programs to reflect that. And we are constantly assessing our classes to make sure students are learning what they're supposed to be learning from those classes. So that's really the big difference in that. So what that means for students is it's a higher level of quality throughout. So the courses are more rigorous, the courses are more relevant, and the faculty are more knowledgeable. So those are three huge benefits from taking, say, this program and say like one of the largest colleges in the world in the world really is Southern New Hampshire University. They're not AACSB accredited, and if you look at their curriculum and compare it to ours, it's evident. Like we spend a lot more time putting in rigor into our courses to make sure you come out of our programs with an edge over students who have taken non-AACSB coursework.
Very good. Well, as you mentioned, Tarleton State University offers 7 graduate business programs. There's accounting, business administration, management, human resources management, information systems, logistics and supply chain management, marketing. And so, as I'm out recruiting students, I have noticed that they often have a hard time deciding which path they should go. In particular, many are trying to choose between, for example, a business administration degree versus, say, the master's in management. Any advice you can give to people about which path might be better for what result?
Absolutely. And all of our programs are excellent. So because we are accredited, all those programs have the same characteristics as our MBA in terms of constant improvement and innovation. Um, but the differences are essentially, so the MBA is broad based. So that is something if you want to be versatile and be able to manage in many different contexts, say that, anything from an IT firm to a public services firm to a nonprofit organization. The MBA gives you that broad-based management. So you go into an MBA if you want to manage. And again, it doesn't mean that you have to manage people. You can manage projects. You could be a budgeting manager. You could be a management analyst. So anything that involves managing people, resources, and projects, that is what the MBA prepares you for. Now, if you have something more specific in mind, say for instance you're interested in logistics and supply chain management, right? That's extremely specific. Through the MBA, you can take electives in it, but it doesn't give you the same breadth and specificity that, say, taking our master's in supply chain management would, right? Or say you're interested in being a data scientist. Well, you can take data science courses through our MBA, and that would equip you to manage, say, a team of data scientists, but it wouldn't give you the same specificity that, say, doing our Master of Science in Management and having the concentration in data science or data analytics would. So that's the big difference. It's basically If you want to kind of have the versatility and generalizability, then you go for the MBA. But if you have something specific in mind, say you want to be a marketing research manager, well, then obviously you would go for a Master of Science in marketing instead, right? So that's the big difference.
Yeah. Well, then how does the master's in management compare with the MBA?
The Master's of Management is specifically focused on just management, managing people, right? It's specifically designed to make you a manager, right? Versus an MBA, you could be an analyst, right? You could be a project manager, you could be an IT person. So it gives you a bit broader in scope as far as what you can do. You could be a consultant. A lot of MBA students go into the consulting sector because most organizations have broad problems that involve multiple functions. You could go into strategic planning, consulting, research advisory, things like that. Versus an MS in management, it specifically prepares you to be a manager. But
So
yeah,
what,
that's a great question because a lot of students can't tell the difference. Like, well, MS
yes,
management,
yeah.
MBA. Yeah, the key term is a master's in business administration. You get courses in all the functionalities of business, right? Whereas a master of science in management, it's exclusively management.
So then would it be accurate to say the MBA is more of a generalist degree and the other graduate business programs are more specialized?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. All right. As you mentioned, this is primarily a fully online degree program. Still rigorous, still with the same standards of excellence that you would expect from a program that has this level of accreditation. Can you talk a little bit more about what people can expect from an online education? How is it that this program is executed online? And you mentioned team projects for students and that type of thing. If you could talk more about that,
Oh,
please.
sure, sure. And of course, the benefits of taking an online program is you don't have to, your career trajectory isn't disrupted, right? If you go into a full-time program that's face to face, you're going to class, right? You're going to 3 classes per week. And of course, you have to make some compromises, right? Whether it's family, personal, or career. And with our approach, you don't have to do that. And that's the big pro of online education. Typically, the con has been the quality isn't there, right? But fortunately for us, we are right there as far as quality goes. So what the things you would expect from your typical online course. So a few of the things we do is all of our courses look the same. We use an online platform. They're in module form. But within that, our faculty do everything. So for instance, I'll talk about what I do. I do a lot of video lectures, of course. I provide a lot of live content for our students. We do a great deal of simulations and we do the same, we do case studies, we do group work. I even do in my class, I do optional live sessions so students can attend and actually engage directly with me. And of course, all these live sessions are recorded, then posted for the class as a whole. And those are really, they're well attended too. I do like one every couple of weeks for my capstone class. I also do live Zoom meetings for directly with student groups because we have in our capstone class, and again, this will give you an idea of what kind of a typical online class at Tarleton looks like. Students do a semester long project with a team where they're running a business and competing with their classmates
Mhm.
in this industry. So that requires active engagement throughout the week, every week of the course, right? You're meeting with your teams, you're making decisions, you're looking at reports, you're looking at financials, all the things you would expect to do in a classroom, but you're doing this at your house or at your office via Zoom with your team. These teams meet with me once a week so that I could review their performance with them. So they still get that direct contact with their professor, which is a huge plus. But more importantly, they get that direct contact with their classmates, which creates the network opportunities that you would get at a face-to-face MBA program, right? I also teach our evidence-based decision-making class, and that's the same thing. It's not a competitive simulation, but there's a semester long project where you're working with the same group of people in that class from the beginning to the end. So that's already 2 classes, and those are just the ones I teach. We're working from beginning to end of the course with a group of 3 or 4 other people. So if you compound that across all of your MBA, you're building quite the professional network by working with all these folks throughout that graduate program. So you build those great professional networks that are so important now, right, when you get out. So what to expect? I wouldn't expect any compromise. That's for sure. The coursework is involved and it's engaging. Again, as I mentioned, it's not the kind of online program where you check in at the beginning and submit something and then you're done for the week. You're constantly working as you would in a regular graduate program, in a face-to-face MBA. You're constantly working. In our program, you're constantly working as well, whether it's simulations, whether it's case studies, whether it's projects, whether it's experiential activities. For instance, in my capstone class, not only do they have a simulation, they have a consulting project where they have to evaluate business plans and make decisions using what they've learned throughout the MBA. So again, that's something students typically would expect from a face-to-face program, but they're getting it in our program too. So again, there's really no compromise as far as what you will do in the program. But yeah, that's a great question because a lot of students, at least if I was in their shoes, I would have a little bit of doubt if it was an online program because the fact is a lot of programs do make compromises, right? They look at online programs as a way to make money. But since we're affordable, we don't look at it that way. We look at it in terms of creating and being conducive to economic development and having students, having students rise up and accomplish their goals, really. And that's what we're looking to do.
You had mentioned that our MBA students are coming from all different types of academic backgrounds, from education and history and the arts and music, in addition to business. And so there are up to six leveling classes that someone might have to take depending on their previous academic background, if it was non-business. But can you talk a little bit more about how that works in terms of leveling? Is that something
Sure.
that people do can incorporate as part of their graduate program, or do they need to have satisfied that before they enroll?
Sure. So we work with students on a one-on-one basis. Me and our MBA advisors, we look at your transcript, we look at their job experience, and our approach is to try to minimize leveling courses by as much as possible. And we do that in a couple of ways. The first way is we take into account work experience. So say, for instance, you had a bachelor's in public administration and you worked for the city of Arlington for 10 years. Well, that's a lot of management experience. And say you did marketing, a little bit of marketing for them. Oh, there's some marketing experience. So we take into account work experience. So that'll help eliminate some of the leveling requirements. And in instances where there's absolutely no way to eliminate leveling requirements, we've implemented a way where students don't have to actually enroll in an actual undergraduate class. They could take an online condensed boot camp course, which is way cheaper and faster, and you could take it like the semester before you enroll in our program, or you could take it as during your first semester prior to your second semester. So we try to be as flexible and accommodating as possible because again, we don't want to turn away students that are otherwise qualified and ready to go, right? We don't want to create barriers to entry. So our general approach is holistic and done on an individual basis. We also, of course, we look at your transcripts and see what courses could possibly count, especially for students who've taken maybe a semester of grad work in another field. Sometimes there's some courses that could substitute for, say, they could be used as electives or they could be used for the business core. So yeah, we take a holistic individual approach to these things.
And from your experience and observation, are the people who are coming from non-business backgrounds performing as well as those who did have
Oh yeah,
backgrounds?
it's many times better. I mean, I've had city managers who have public administration background. I've had dentists who obviously have zero business background. I've had veterinary technicians, and they all do great. They all thrive. So they're able to use their kind of the skills they learn in their field, but in a business context.
Hmm. Well, I think I'll end by just asking you anecdotally if you have any success stories you'd like to mention, how you've seen people leverage their new MBA credential to go on and do bigger and better
I
things.
have a recent one just from last semester. I have this one student, and he now is a guest speaker in my classes a lot. We bring in guest speakers too, by the way. This semester I had two. I had the chief of strategy from Caterpillar, which is a really high profile individual. He speaks in my classes every semester, and we also had this one student because I wanted to bring in an actual graduate from our programs because the guy from Caterpillar, he's from University of Chicago, and he's out of the Chicago area, but he zooms in and he talks with our students, and he's excellent. But the individual I brought in from Tarleton, he graduated just last year. He's now majority partner in a large dental supply and design firm that covers the Metroplex, so multi-million-dollar firm. And he is basically the person who runs the entire organization now. And he does guest speaking. He does executive coaching. He's an avid cyclist. He does everything. But more importantly, he's a supremely gifted manager and business operator. And yeah, and everything. And he credits his success to his work here at Tarleton in our MBA program. And he's a huge advocate for our program. And if you all enroll in our MBA, you're likely to come across him because he'll be speaking in my classes. I can definitely. But yeah, he's a recent one that's done great.
Wonderful. Thank
We've
you so
also had
much for that.
we've had also several students go on for PhD programs, go work in consulting. But he's the one that comes to mind because he's the most recent.
Wonderful. Well, to our live audience members, I don't see any questions from you, but I do want to remind you that a recording of this webinar will be available to review on demand on the College of Graduate Studies YouTube channel. So if you'd like to go back and rewatch, certainly feel free to do so. And if you know of others who could benefit from a Tarleton State MBA, we hope that you will share the recording with them as well. So I thank you all for your time today. Thank you, Dr. Cavazos. It's always a pleasure to visit with you and learn more about this program. I think with that, we can end our webinar. So
Take,
have a great rest of your day, everybody.
all right, take care, everyone. Bye bye.